Hey everybody, JC here with another T&I toy review, and today we're going to take a look at another of DC Collectibles' new Batman Arkham Origins Series 2 figures with Anarky. And like most of the other figures in this line, it comes packaged in standard blistered packaging. You've got the Batman logo up at the top, and then you've got the figure clearly displayed in the packaging on a light blue background, and then down below you have the Arkham Origins name along with the figure's name and an indication that this is part of Series 2. Then on the back you have a brief bio of the video game that the figures are based on, and then you have little thumbnail images showing all the figures in Series 2. And then down below that just some credits and things. These figures were sculpted by Gentle Giant Studios. Okay, so let's get the figure open and take a look at what's inside. Okay, so here's a look at the figure outside of the packaging. Again, like with all the figures in this series, we see a lot of nice sculpting details. This figure looks very true to his appearance in the video game. He comes with one accessory, a Molotov cocktail. Has a little flame on the end of it, which is not removable. We'll take a little closer look at that in just a moment. Now, the figure has got some nice sculpting details, but one thing that's kind of unique about this figure is that, like, he's got this big puffy jacket on, but it's not actually, the sleeves of the jacket are not actually sculpted. They're actually made with kind of a foam type material, and so they actually, you can kind of pull up the sleeves on them. Now, one thing to note is under the sleeves, they've actually not given the arms skin tones. They've just left it a clear plastic. And you can't really like pull the sleeves up and keep them up. They come right back down. But just something to note that underneath there is just clear plastic for the arms. And then they've done the same thing with the hood. The hood's made with the same kind of material. And we've seen this before with other DC Collectible figures. The hood actually you can remove, and we see this bald forehead behind the mask and everything, which is pretty cool. I like that. Now the only disadvantage of this is he can turn his head, which is good, but like when he's looking to the left or right, the hood doesn't actually turn, so it looks kind of funny. He ends up looking into his hood basically. So you have to kind of pull the hood back if you want him to look to the side. The figure has a lot of little details. He has this backpack on. He's got a skull on the backpack, which is just painted on, and then he's got some like little spiky things that are sculpted on. And he's even down here on the bottom of the backpack, he's got some safety pins attached to the bottom. I'm not sure why he has the safety pins, but he does have a number of them pinned to the bottom. Now another thing to note, like with the hood and the sleeves on the jacket, the straps on the backpack are actually separate pieces. The backpack itself is molded onto the back of the figure. It's not removable, but the straps are separate pieces, and again made with that kind of rubbery material. So you can kind of move the straps around if you want. I mean, they kind of just go right back into place, but like if you want to lift him up to get a good look at his Anarky symbol painted on his jacket, you can do that. And they are an actual separate piece. And then he's got, I'm not 100% sure what this is really supposed to be, but he's got this like strap that goes from his belt buckle down to his pocket on his pants. It's just a red material, almost kind of like a suspender or something. It's not like a, scene like where you have people have chains hanging from their belts to like their pockets for like their wallets or something, but so I don't know if that's what this is supposed to be or what, but it's a separate piece. It's also made with rubbery material, so just to know. And then he's got a pouch that's kind of glued to his belt. It's again a separate piece, and it's just rubber material. So they've used a lot of this kind of rubbery material on this figure, which I think gives it a good look, especially for like the sleeves of the jacket and everything. I think is cool. Now, one thing I want to note, at least on my figure, when I first opened it, there was, I guess, excess paint on like the hood and stuff. So like as I was touching the figure, some of the paint kind of rubbed off on my fingers. And so I had to wash that off. After handling the figure for a while, it seems to have stopped. And I mean, it's not like the paint has smudged or anything. It's just, I guess, it's excess paint that just comes off with this material onto your hands. So just something to be wary of when you're first opening the figure. So as I mentioned before, the one accessory this figure comes with is a Molotov cocktail, which is basically a bottle with a flame on top of it. You see him using it in the video game, so it's pretty cool. Now, I really like this flame effect. It's got some nice paint washes on it to give it really, and it's translucent, so it's got a really nice effect. I think this would something like this to go on the tip of like Firefly's flamethrower on the Firefly figure, I think would have been really cool. I wish we kind of had seen something like that for Firefly as well. But it's not removable from the bottle. It's actually, the flame itself is attached to, there's like, looks like, I don't know, something rolled up in brown, like cardboard or something like that inside the bottle. I don't know how well you can see it on camera. But so the flame is actually attached to that. So you can't actually pull the flame out. It looks like you could. And I mean, you could pull it out, but you'd be basically breaking. I don't know how well you get it back in. But the flame is technically not meant to be removable from the bottle. And then he has one hand that's sculpted open, and then he's got one closed fist. So he can only hold it in the one hand. And the hands, the open hand is kind of a soft plastic, so it has a tendency to stretch kind of open. So when you first open him, he holds the bottle pretty tightly, but as I've been handling the figure more, the bottle tends to fit looser, so it does have a little tendency sometimes to fall out of his hand. That flame hanging off of it kind of makes it heavy, so it can sometimes fall out. But he, like that. So you kind of, if you start moving the arm around, then you probably want to remove the bottle first, and then, or have it be expected to fall out, and then just put it in whatever pose you want it in. For articulation, not quite as good articulation as we saw with the Killer Croc and the Deathstroke figure, but a lot better than what we saw with Firefly. So it's kind of in between those figures. So let's just go over the points of articulation real quick. His head is on a ball joint, so a little up and down movement, more down than up, and he can look left and right. But like I said, the hood itself does not move as far as like turning with his head. So if you're going to have him look to the left or right, then you'll probably want to have him pull back the hood so he can actually see. Otherwise, he's going to be looking into the hood. Now, I believe we can't see the joints on the arm because they're underneath the foam piece of this jacket, but I believe we're looking at your standard ball hinged shoulders, and he can get his arm out pretty good, and the jacket really doesn't hinder his movement too much, and then he's got pretty good rotation. Again, the jacket really doesn't hinder that at all. And then I believe he has a bicep swivel, and then a single hinged elbow, and that's about how much he can bend his elbow pretty good even with the jacket. And then he's just got swivel wrists, no hinges at the wrist. For the midsection, we're looking at just a swivel, no kind of ab crunch or anything. And then he's got the same kind of articulation in the legs that we've seen with all of them. So be careful, but you can get him to do the splits. He does the splits pretty good. And because this pouch is soft, rubbery material, it actually really doesn't prohibit him from doing his leg out too much. Now, I would recommend caution because it looks like it's just glued onto the belt, so you could risk knocking it off essentially, but for the most part it does not really hinder him doing his leg outward. And then he can do the leg forward about that much, and then kind of out and back. He has double hinged knees, which is nice, and they're hidden by the knee pads, so he can bend his knee pretty good. And he's got little paint, I'm not sure what the symbol on his knee pad is supposed to be, but he's got a little extra detail on that one knee pad. And then he's got a swivel at the boot cut, but no ankle articulation, which is probably the most disappointing thing about the articulation on this figure. If they had given him some ankles pivots, then you could have gotten him in a lot cooler positions. The ab crunch, missing the ab crunch is not a big deal to me, but I would have liked to have seen some kind of ankle pivot. So that's my review. Overall, I think this is a pretty good figure. If you're a fan of this character and this look for this character, then I think you definitely will want to pick this one up. It's got a lot of nice detail. You know, articulation again isn't as good as Killer Croc or Deathstroke, but it's not bad. It's not horrible like the Firefly figure, which was really disappointing. And then just the details and the sculpts and everything are really good on this figure. So, you know, again, if you're a fan of the character or just want to have all the villains for the video game, then I think you'll definitely want to pick this one up. As I mentioned before, these have hit comic and specialty shops, so you should be able to find them now. At my shop, they were running around $24, $25. So, like I said, if you want to pick this one up, start looking now. And that's my review, and until next time, I'll check you later.